Welcome to the Secure Agentic AI Remote Diagnostics and Remediation webinar. We've got a really exciting demo to show everybody today. And this one is all about starting to share valuable use cases with the ecosystem and just continuing to try and push the limits of what's possible in terms of extracting value, generating productivity, um, and producing hours saved. Right. So, introduction: Kyle Bruckner, engineering manager at RapDev. Been here for 4.5 years now, and I've been working on the ServiceNow platform as a partner and a ServiceNow customer for almost 15 years. Got started on a pre-Aspen instance back in the day, and nowadays I get to work on a lot of Now Assist and Agentic AI stuff, which is really exciting. Kiro, quick intro.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. So my name is Kiro Shihata. I've all been here at RapDev for about 3 years now. I am a ServiceNow engineering manager at RapDev. I started in the ServiceNow world about 8 years ago. I've been working a lot with AI ops and now get to work with a lot of Now Assist.
Great, good stuff. Little bit about RapDev, elite ServiceNow partner. Um, we have um, a collection of plugins out on the ServiceNow store. Most of them are free. If you haven't seen them yet, I invite you to go check them out. We do have um, a suite of what we call Arlo plugins, which just try to solve some very common use cases that we've seen across our decades of experience, but all free. Welcome the team to go welcome everybody to go check them out. 4.7 customer satisfaction score. We only win if our customers win. That's why we've maintained such a high score over the 6 years plus of RapDev's existence. And nowadays we're pretty serious about our um, certifications, which we have plenty of because we're required to by ServiceNow. These are the sandboxes that we play in. You notice the big yellow hex in the middle, agentic AI and Now Assist. Yes, that is a key focus for RapDev right now, but that one doesn't exist without all the others. Value generated from implementing AI the right way can't happen without the right data and foundations underneath it to support the agentic and autonomous behavior with the right context. So, as much as we want to transform the next process to take cognitive load off of the next user persona and instead do that with an AI agent, um, it's just not going to work out unless the right data is in the right place and maintained and owned by the right people. Um, Enforcing policies that say, just leveraging data foundations best practices, enforcing policies that just determine which functional personas can change which metadata attributes at what time within a record's particular life cycle. It extends into ITOM and all the CIs in a CMDB, the records within the ticketing processes like ITSM, uh, and incident change problem, and extends throughout the entire platform, but also beyond the platform, right? There's a lot of data out there from a lot of vendor SaaS companies that all of our customers are purchasing and storing their data there. We integrate with those sources, and we have to make sure that data is correct too. So although agentic AI Now Assist is a key focus for RapDev, the messaging is, RapDev as premier ITOM partner, that part is still very relevant and very important to get the most value um, out of AI. So this is just a quick look at our ServiceNow store apps, as I continue to share a lot of information with you that a lot of the audience might already know. Before we get into our exciting demo, but a couple of really cool ones that I want to call out here. CSDM as code. It enables dev teams, app teams to have a YAML file plopped right into their repo. They can structure out their higher level CSDM logical components like business services, application services, microservices as structured YAML, and have those logical components automatically created in the CMDB or in ServiceNow. The next one that's really neat is tag generator, specifically designed for those CIs that are hard to tag on-prem, for example, to enable automatic service mapping, tag-based service mapping, but also very useful for resources that are easy to tag, that in AWS or any other cloud system, that teams just don't seem to always tag the right way. So also still valuable for those resources. Vitals, very important. We use Vitals to um, install on our customer instances and systematically assess where the opportunities lie to extract value. So we should probably do a webinar on that pretty soon. But um, this is another view of the sandboxes that we play in. We look at it holistically. On the left, you'll see Now Assist Agentic AI. It applies everywhere and will continue to grow across all of the various areas. And then on the top, AI control tower is a key pillar of of the um, of the strategy to govern and control um, the AI agents. So I want to talk about key barriers to AI adoption for a second. So obviously we're trying to get our customers to realize the most value out of their ServiceNow purchase. And in doing so, we believe that following an adoption cycle like this, getting processes to um, be driven by AI agents that are eventually adaptive and autonomous is the way to go. And what we're seeing after playing in this sandbox for almost 2 years is that a lot of the customers are in stage 1 or 2, and a lot of times we see customers that are in stage 1 or 2 but think they're in stage 3, or even some that think they're in stage 4. Stage 4 is really hard to get to, and it requires a lot of really sound data foundational practices to get there. Now, there's some key barriers that we as a team have noticed dealing with customers, conversations with other people in the ecosystem, and the the smallest barrier. I've got three key barriers to widespread adoption that I see right now. The first one is probably the least important right now, just due to how fast adoption is taking place. It's just not fast enough. It'll become more important when adoption really starts to hit the inflection point, which I don't think we're there yet. But it's governance and control. So starting with AI control tower, right? The idea of gaining visibility into where all the AI assets are being deployed, which cloud platforms, where they're being deployed on-prem, the um, the idea of managing that risk and getting observability into the real-time activity of any AI agents, and enforcing policies. Like, what are they really supposed to have access to? What do they have access to? And then managing that risk inside of ServiceNow. So managing that chaos is one barrier to evolve from stage 3 to stage 4. And then the other barrier to adoption, which I've already mentioned, is data foundations and data readiness, which I don't think should be a limiter to starting your AI journey or spending more resources on it. Um, because if you followed that logic, you'd never have a CMDB, or you'd never have a change management or incident management, because you'd always be waiting for your CMDB to be 100% perfect. So So starting to work on the higher layer with agentic AI while maintaining the approach to maturing data widespread across the enterprise, but specifically within ServiceNow is a sound strategy to work on both in parallel. Um, then the most important barrier to widespread adoption that we currently see is the knowledge gap. So not having full awareness of which components and tactical options are available to solution for a given use case is a limiting factor. So RapDev's style of engagement to reduce this risk or eliminate this barrier of entry or to widespread AI adoption at your organization or across the ecosystem is to just simply educate, right? Pre-sales, post-sales, throughout the whole process. We only win if our customers wins, and in order for our customers to win with AI, they have to fully understand it. So that means being fully aware of what the solution is and how it provides value is the only way that we maintain our 100% adoption rate with our ServiceNow AI customers. So, so we're always going into an engagement with how do we quantify the results? How do we answer that question? What do we exactly have to measure to prove that this works? And then talking through every layer in the stack. So just to share a little bit of um, tactical detail of how we operate. But now we're gonna start a little poll. Where is your organization in its ServiceNow Now Assist journey now? So if you could, yeah, take a minute, um, share where you're at. It's nice to get a sense of where progress is. But okay, let's swap over and take a look at the results. Evaluating, planning to purchase takes the cake. At least it wasn't 67%. All right, good. Enabled and actively used today, 15. Good, good. We've got another poll. What activities do you want to automate with Now Assist? This is an interesting one. We are so while you're answering that question, RapDev, our team, we're seeing use cases all over the spectrum. Yes, in ITSM, ITOM, asset management, but there's a lot of custom things as well. And these options here are usually more closely related to where do you want to start? But okay, let's take a look at those results. General capability orchestration. And that aligns with what we're seeing on a daily basis. General orchestration, a lot of custom use cases that we're being asked to solve for as well, which is great because there's a lot that we can do with these agentic runtimes like ServiceNow's Now Assist framework. All right, very good. Moving on, Kiro, I will hand the baton over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Cool. So tribal knowledge. So a lot of the issues that we see, or a lot of the common tickets that get logged into ServiceNow and customers deal with is mostly around things that can be solved just by surfacing some knowledge that lives in the knowledge base. To give you an example, some customer comes in, asks about some HR policy or asks how to reset their password. All of this can be easily deflected, right? If you have good knowledge base, and then that knowledge base is being turned into good answers to the customer. And that's what Now Assist and the virtual agent excel in, right? The Now Assist virtual agent, with the virtual agent being powered by Now Assist and has the ability to read through over your knowledge base and all of the catalog items within your system and make suggestions to the user on how to solve this issue that they're dealing with or their question and deflect that. So they don't have to speak to somebody and they don't have to consume so much time when it's easily answered by knowledge, right? And that's what we're showing here on this slide, right? You have a user coming in with an issue. There's articles that are ingested and synthesized by the AI, and then the AI can answer the questions of the user and easily drive up that deflection and not have to end up to a ticket. And if it gets to it and the agent is not able to finish or able to answer that question for the user, that's when you would go to a ticket. But at this point, you have a high rich ticket with a lot of information that was collected from the user. And that's what this tribal knowledge translator use case helps in,
And
right?
I'll add to that, and like the interesting twist of this one and how RapDev is sort of pushing the limit, and it'll eventually be a ServiceNow out of box feature, but ServiceNow did a really good job of creating this conversational catalog item experience with virtual agent, where virtual agent takes a user through step by step every variable in a request and asks them pointed questions. So it's a conversational style experience just to open up a request. Now, what ServiceNow didn't do is create that conversational type experience for troubleshooting. The experience that's available out of the box is Now Assist will go and find a relevant article and give the user a link to it and basically say, good luck. I'm here if you need me. Follow this knowledge article. But what we did is and what we can provide our customers with is give users who are going through a troubleshooting exercise the ability to be guided in a step-by-step conversational style. Here's step one. How did that work out? Tell me the issues. Okay, that's good. Here's step two. Try step three, and before you know it, your email client is working again, or whatever the case is. So that is, yeah, that's knowledge translator.
Awesome. And the exciting one that we'll be showing today is remote execution. So, a lot of times when the user comes in and they're having an issue, you want to be able to see what's actually going on with the user's host, and you want to be able to execute things on the user's host to automate the remediation or have the information and diagnostics information collected within ServiceNow. And that's what this remote execution use case helps us in, right? There's an issue that's reported by a user. We have then our AI agent goes out, execute one of its allowed commands. And through that allowed command, it's able to collect some diagnostics information on the host, on what's happening inside the host, and from there be able to suggest either resolution steps to the user or even better, auto execute a remediation, as we will see here in this demo. So the reason why this is very useful is that it grounds that information and grounds that resolution and the steps in actual data that's coming from the user's device and based on real diagnostics and real-time data. And from there, adding that to that deflection, immediately resolve or escalate the issue if need be, without having to engage anybody. Cool. So, yeah, this slide is focused here around one specific problem where most of our implementations, people try to shoot for the moon and stars, right? They try to get through the last mile problem of solving everything without focusing on the quick wins, like the deflection, right? A great feature of the virtual agent and the Now Assist virtual agent is that it gives you your most common intent use cases that they see in incidents or any cases that surface in ServiceNow. So ServiceNow takes that information, does analysis on it, and produces, the top five slash, top 5 to 10 intents that you want to be looking at, and how you can quickly automate these, whether through topics or AI agent and all of that. So basically, just by enabling the virtual agent and Now Assist by default, you're immediately getting value with that deflection, right? Um, and solving for that last mile problem should not be the barrier where you're halting that value out of getting quick deflection with these common high intent use cases just by supplying knowledge articles in your knowledge base for the agent to quickly, answer those questions and give the user valuable information that they would otherwise have to wait for somebody to tell them that information, like an agent, right? And that's what we'll
And
see here. Go ahead, Kyle.
I'll just add like top 5 to 10 intents or use cases that a service desk is dealing with, right? There's this spectrum where some efforts are considered risky research and development type efforts, and then some efforts are just going through the motions, sort of cumbersome because they're really easy and they're more or less commoditized. Like we are arriving in an age where this kind of work for RapDev, dealing with these sort of intents or use cases, is we do it all the time, right? The team is knocking these things out for a variety of customers. Things that we've seen before can fly in, implement it right away, get value quickly, prove with metrics, quantify it, um, to tell the story that there's real value here. So um, just wanted to share that it has become more or less going through the motions for our team.
All right, now let's get down to the demo. So I'll go ahead and share screen. Okay. All right. So what we're looking at now is what's called the agent playground. Basically, I've built an agent inside ServiceNow to help us with some of that IT support agent, the IT issues that we commonly deal with, like a user coming in and asking, "Hey, I'm having issues resetting my password," or "I'm having issues with a frozen application," or my computer is running slow. These are all common issues that we see day in and day out that agents have to deal with, and so this use case here focuses on that, right? It gives us the highest value that we can get out of those small base cases. So in this example, what we'll see is that this AI agent will reason and collect some of the commands that it can remotely execute on a user's device, and from there suggest some commands that it should run to the user so that it collects real-time diagnostics. From there, also then suggest possible resolution routes and even automate the execution itself, right? So just to link things up here and put everything in perspective, the AI agent will be doing the reasoning and it will be making calls to an agent that lives on my machine. And my machine will execute those commands and return the response back into ServiceNow. And for this AI agent, I have a list of allowed commands that it can run, so that, just to control and securely allow the agent to only execute what we allow it to and not have it just go wild. Um, and from there, it spawns those commands to the user, to the agent, so that the agent on the user's device can execute them and return results back to the AI agent. So in this use case here, I'm just going to say, hey, my granola app is not working or it's frozen. And what we'll see here, and the reason why I decided to go with this view when demoing this is to show the decision logs and to show the reasoning that the support agent is doing. Okay. This can be surfaced either through virtual agent also, or can be surfaced through the Now Assist panel. But I'm using this view to simulate and to show the reasoning that the agent is going through. And the very first thing that we'll look at is, okay, so when I reported this issue, the agent is saying, all right, I need to first fetch the details of the issue and get the user's hostname and device. And because I had implemented this agent to use long-term memory, it remembers that I previously called this agent and I previously asked it for issues around my computer and around this granola app, and I also have a Windows computer. So it didn't need to ask me this information again, but it already collected that information itself from its memory. This can be also enhanced to use data that's in the CMDB, which uses things that are called a knowledge graph in ServiceNow. Using knowledge graph, it picks up, the information from the CMDB and is able to tell, all right, this user is the assigned to user that's listed within the CI, within like the computer class CI on this record, and not have to ask a user any additional questions. But in this case, it's just using its long-term memory to answer questions that it would otherwise have to ask for, which you can see here. And so the very first tool that I had given this agent was the ability to get these allowed executed, the allowed remote execution commands. So in here, you'll see that it made a call to the database, and it got all of the allowed commands that it has in its toolbook. And from there, it suggested, okay, so hey, I need to run a diagnostic command on your computer to check the current running processes and identify what might be causing this granola app to freeze, and this will help me understand the system's information. Yes. So I was, all right, go ahead and proceed. I have this tool being utilized as a supervised command so that it doesn't immediately just execute on its own. It has to wait for the user's input to allow it to give it that command. And then you can see here, it will, switching over to the commands table, and you'll see it spawned a record just now to get the top 10 heavy running processes, which are one of the allowed commands. And from there, it said, okay, I got collected that output. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong screen. And from there, it collected that output and it displayed it here. And it also said, I've analyzed your system, found that Granola app is not showing up in active processes, which might indicate it's completely frozen. One of its allowed commands that I've given it is the ability to restart a process, right? So it looks at its allowed command and saw that, all right, I have the ability to also restart a process. So I can suggest that to the user, or I can leave it to the user to do their own manual approach. In this case, I'm going to ask it to go ahead and restart my Granola app, and I'll launch that to show you what it does here. And you can see, okay, so it's going to go through and either ask me for confirmation to go ahead and execute the command. Yep. So it says I will now restart, and I say yes, go ahead and do it. So it's going to execute the remote command. Okay, so it restarts my Granola app. Voila. And I'm going to assume that that did solve my issue of having a broken application. And so once it finishes collecting the output, final thing is, all right, so it's successfully completed this remediation. And it tells us, all right, is there anything I can help you with? I'm just going to say no. All right, immediately, actually, because the resolution was complete, it ended the chat. We'll go ahead and run through another use case here where, okay, we'll say that my computer is very slow. Okay, so it launches that IT support agent that we created, and its reasoning, again, it's seeing that, I had just made a call, and so it's looking at episodic memory, and so it is your computer's host name. We'll tell it, all right, it's Kiro. And the reason why it's asking me for the computer's host name, it's because it's now using its episodic memory, and it says it shouldn't assume that it should use long-term memory, and it should ask me what exactly is the host name. Maybe I'm calling about a different device. I'm going to say Windows. Okay, so again, it got the allowed commands that it needed to run or not needed to, that it has access to. And again, it says, I need to run a diagnostic command to check your disk space usage, which will help, understand if it's due to disk space usage. I'll say yes. It's going to execute the remote command. And again, we'll see that spawn here to send the command to the agent. Okay, so it executed 2 commands. Executed 1 command to get overall disk space and 1 to get the top 10 running heavy processes. And from there, okay, says that completed the diagnostics, There's some space here. Disk space is not the cause of slowness. It does have some top running processes that it thinks might be the root cause. So we'll suggest, hey, do you want me to start by cleaning up maybe temporary files on your computer? And I'll say, yes, proceed with the cleanup. Yep, go ahead and do it. All right, so it executed that command, and the output of that command was dropped here. So deleted 181 files. Some it couldn't delete for obvious reasons. We'll see what the final assessment is. Okay. So it's now saying, all right, so it's successfully able to do the cleanup of the 181 temporary files. Some were not deleted, but because that's being used by other programs, so it couldn't delete those. And so we got to this point where, it executed a remote execution on my PC, and I'm now assuming that the computer is now good and healthy because it removed all the temporary files so that my computer now can run much quicker than before. There's another automated execution that it could run if I were to ask it to just continue with help, where it just completely restarts again the processes or kill a service. But we're going to stop here, and that will be it for the demo. And we'll go on to questions.
That's right. I get to share the most important slide. Oh yeah. All right. So the key takeaway, I think, is as you're thinking of the very important questions to ask, the um the input that Kiro added, one was my computer is slow. Like if we could just get the end users to provide more context, well, that was like 10 years ago. Imagine getting a ticket that said my computer is slow. They existed. Those tickets are real. And then the amount of effort it takes to go find out why it's slow annually. So now we don't need to do that anymore. All right, how do I get to the questions? Ha, zero questions. Come on, team. The our team will end up sharing the slides, I believe. The webinar itself will end up on YouTube and on our website. And those slides will be in there on the recorded video. But here's a question. Can you speak about how this is priced? Yeah, so this individual use case, remote execution, is is part of a bundle of, where most of our customers are bundling it with their Now Assist how to get started journey, which includes virtual agent and Now Assist for ITSM, focusing on incident deflection and taking load off the service desk and automating some of those routine activities. Um, but um, but yeah, if you're interested in that, please reach out. So we price it as a fixed fee engagement, um, and at the end of the day, we don't leave until we deliver value. Um, but yeah, definitely reach out if you're interested in that.
We do have another question. It says, what is the process of having the AI agent being able to access the user's computer? So on the user's computer, we have an agent running that's listening for any commands that are dropped into the system. I'm going to steal the screen really quick here, Kyle, because I probably just
Go
forgot to share that. But I have this just a simple agent running on my device, which listens to those commands and executes them. So you can see here, this is where it dropped those two commands for my host. And from there, it executed those commands and put them back in the results inside ServiceNow. So that's what that's how it's able to access the user's computer.
Very good. Another question we got is when is this for GA? General availability. This is already being done. So yeah, if it interests you, reach out to our team and get it done for you too. Another question, can we install this plugins for in a PDI for trial? This particular one, no. Remote execution is not available for install to kick the tires on all on your own. But we do have Arlo plugins out on the ServiceNow store, which are free to use and you can install them anywhere you have Now Assist. Can kick the tires on those. Any other questions? All right. Well, we'll wrap it up, but before we go, Kira, what's your favorite thing about doing these webinars?
Favorite thing about the demos showing value to the customers. That has to be my favorite thing actually, and when it works gloriously.
Yeah, no demo curse today. That was slick. Yeah, mine is closely related to that. It's pushing us to always push the needle, and show something new, something valuable. I like it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the questions that we did get. And yeah, if you need help with AI, call RapDev. Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. Take care.